Well, it's Sunday morning. We just got back from church, and when driving down the roads getting back to the Oasis here, I noticed a lot of cars from Montreal. You can always tell when they're from Montreal because they got the sticker in the back window, sticker for parking. And I'm thinking to myself, how do you live that way? You need a sticker on the back of your windshield in order to park your car. In the wintertime, it's living hell in Montreal. You come home from work, and if you do find a place to park, you got to shovel it out first. You don't have a tractor, so you got to manually shove it out. And you get up in the morning, and the plow is went by, and you got to dig your car out again just to get to work. You come back home, somebody else has got that parking spot that you dug out in the morning. And so I'm noticing a lot of traffic from Montreal here, up here in Matawini. And people are fleeing Montreal. The housing market's beginning to come alive. There's a lot of chalets and cottages that are up for sale, and they're the business is moving along, and these houses are selling, and the people that are buying are from Montreal. And when I talk to them, they tell me that Montreal is like a third world country. The roads, you can't travel on the roads. There's no parking spots in Montreal, and there's a lot of crime. There's just too many people on that island, too many cars, and the infrastructure is complete failure. So people are fleeing. They're coming up here, coming up north, and they're buying cottages. And the cottages that they're buying, they've got neighbors. They've got small parcels of land. They've got maybe a half an acre, and so they got neighbors on each side of them, and they're paying $900,000 for these cottages. And I look around here and at the Oasis, and I've got acres and acres of bushland here, and we're way off in the woods. The roads that come into the Oasis, I own them, so we don't have to worry about strangers driving on our roads or people around the property that we don't know. You can't get in here. It's gated, and it's all forested. We got our own trout lake here, trout stream, beautiful home. So I guess we're pretty fortunate, during these times where a lot of people don't have a place to live. They're living in parks and tents in Montreal because there's a housing shortage. And what little houses that are on the market are apartments. I mean, they're going for $1,500, $2,000 a month. I don't know how anybody can pay that kind of money. I mean, you can buy yourself a house and probably get away with a mortgage payment for about $1,500 a month. Again, I've fallen into the fortunate category because I don't owe nothing here. Everything that I own here I own it outright. I don't own the bank any money. Don't own nobody nothing. What I got is paid for, but I've worked for 40 some years to get where I am today. I give back. I give a lot back to the community. And in this November coming up, November 2025, I'm running for mayor here in the town of Entre-Lacs, Quebec. There's going to be some major changes. If I get into office, we're going to make life a little easier for the taxpayers here. We're going to lower taxes, or at least freeze them, especially during these hard economic times. The mayoress here, she's given herself a raise, and her council people, her administration, everybody's getting a raise, and they just raise the taxes. And that's, I don't know. That just turns my stomach, We're living in a very, very difficult time. Money is hard to get. People want to work, but the jobs are few and far between. The pay, I don't know, like I just, $20 an hour. That's under the poverty line. So, yeah, our city hall here, they're fat cats. They like to live high off the hog. When I get into the mayor's chair, you can rest assured that I'm going to change that, because I won't be taking a salary like this fat cat mayoress here we have, Sophie Galano, with her expense accounts, and her fat paychecks, and her sports, and she calls her loisir and culture, all that bullshit. $100,000. They spent $100,000 in culture and loisir, whatever the fuck that is. Some fancy made up university words. Culture et loisir. $100,000, 9 months. And I think the bill for about a year and a few months, I think they're up to about $165,000. So, of course, let's party. It's taxpayers' money. And that's the culture that we're facing right now in all levels of government. Federal, provincial, municipal. Let's party. It's the taxpayers' money. Hike the taxes. We need more money, hike the taxes. We're paying here a liter of gas in some places here a dollar, almost $1.60 a liter. So gas fluctuates between about $1.48 a liter to about $1.65 a liter. You buy a chicken. This isn't a free-range chicken. This is a chicken that comes from the big corporations where they're raised in the thousands in little cages. You're paying a chicken $13, $14, $15 for a chicken. Small little chicken, maybe a pound and a half. So, quart of milk, $6. Loaf of bread, $5. I mean, it's just, it's completely, the economy is just, it's completely gone wild. People are having a hard time, and we still have politicians and elected officials that are got their hands in both your pockets, getting as much money as they can out of you, and nobody seems to care, how these people are living. And I know a lot of people are living day to day. The food banks, there's lineups at food banks. I mean, it's a sad situation. And, so I see myself as a very fortunate person to be able to have what I have, and have that luxury of going to the grocery store and picking up a couple of steaks and not having to look at what I'm paying. But like I said, I've worked hard for 40 years, and so has my wife. We've both worked for, together almost, 80 some years. But we give back to the community. I support the elderly community. I do a lot of fundraising for the elderly. Here in Entrelac, that's outlawed. You can't do any fundraising. They won't allow you to do any fundraising for anybody. I'm a Knights of Columbus, been a Knights of Columbus for 40 years. I'm Knights of Columbus, what they call forever Knights of Columbus. 40 years of active and loyal service. I'm an insured member. I was a member of Council 1 in New Haven, Connecticut for 20 years. I want to give a shout out there to Barry Berardi and Armand DeToro. Hey guys, thanks a lot for being the brothers you are. But anyhow, here I tried to do some fundraising for the elderly community here, and they wanted a cut. Well, she wanted a cut. She gave me a call. She says, if you're doing fundraising, what are you doing with the profits? I said, well, there's no profits. Any money that comes in goes directly back into the elderly community. We buy wheelchairs. We buy defibrillators, $5,000 defibrillators. I give between $5,000 and $15,000 every year to charity. A couple of years ago, we gave $1,000 to the municipality of Notre Dame de la Merci for their Christmas celebrations for children that are less fortunate in the community. But here in Entre-Lacs, they won't have nothing to do with that. Nobody, at least me anyhow. They wanted a OSBL from me. I said, I've never had an OSBL. I've raised hundreds of thousands of dollars in 40 years. Never had an OSBL. We do it through the Knights of Columbus. That's what Knights of Columbus are all about. But here, they're too ignorant. Even the Knights of Columbus don't know they're Knights of Columbus. I don't see too goddamn much of anything that Knights of Columbus are involved in. You know, when I see the lineups of people at food banks and, you know, they got to go to the thrift stores and stuff like that. And our church here, they've completely sold everything in the church. They're selling everything in the church. There's no more pews in the church. They're selling off everything in the church. They're dismantling our church here, and it's an old historic church, beautiful church, but they're dismantling it one piece at a time. It's supposed to be historic, and you know, but no, Quebec, we've taken the crucifixes down. We've banned Jesus and God from our everyday life, and you know, it's completely crazy. We live in a mixed up, confused society. Nobody lives by the good book anymore. You know, you can't find a Bible anywhere. You know, you talk to this young generation, ask them about the Bible. They haven't got a clue. So that's where we are, and I try to, you know, I don't preach, but you know, I try to do my little part to make society a little bit better, but it's a very difficult job that even the people that you are associated with these days, and I'm talking about the Knights of Columbus, they took the first, second, and third degree out of the Knights of Columbus, the initiations. And since they did that, well, these new guys are coming into the order, and they're being indoctrinized by a video, a half an hour of video, and a half an hour of somebody giving them a speech. And most times that somebody that's giving them the speech, talking out of his ass, don't even know what he's talking about. So the unity, fraternity, charity, and patriotism thing is pretty well gone out the window. And these guys are calling themselves Knights of Columbus, but they haven't got a clue. Back in the day when I was initiated Knights of Columbus back in 1985, by the end of your third degree, you knew what was charity and fraternity and all that was all about. We put it into practice, so you didn't have very much of a choice. It was a little rough, but it was a good thing. It awakened a lot of people that came into that order, and they realized that life isn't forever, that life is not promised to anybody. It's day to day. You're here today, you're gone tomorrow. So while you're here, you know, try to do the best you can and live like a human being, a kind and compassionate human being, help people. And when you leave this world, leave it a little bit better than when you came into it. And so I guess that's always been my way of thinking. And but like I said, we're in a different world today. There's no more God, no more Jesus, no more Bibles. There's mentality. These young people are coming out of universities wearing that Hezbollah scarf. They want to kill the Jews, and you know, they're just completely indoctrinated into something that doesn't even make any sense. There's a lot of hatred out there, a lot of discouragement, but here at the Oasis, we're doing all right. We're doing good, and I hope to have many more years in front of me. And I know I got 4 years here at City Hall if I get in November. So you'll be hearing a lot more from me at City Hall. And I'm sure that my neighbors in Entre-Lacs, all the good people here, will be happy because we're going to make some positive changes here and make Entre-Lacs, and I shouldn't say this, but nobody around. Like Donald said, let's make Entre-Lacs great again. Hey, don't forget, if you live in Entre-Lacs and you're around in November 2025, little X for me, vote for me. You'll be happy you did. So anyhow, thanks a lot. Appreciate you all dropping by. And remember, y'all come back again now, you hear?